We love our railing. We love our railing. There was wobbling going on a while back, and so we did a fundraiser to get a railing, and it's really, really nice to have that little extra bit of security. So I've been talking about love, and it's interesting because the original talk title that I had was The Courage to Love. And the more I was meditating this week about the talk, I realized it's not about the courage to love, it's the courage of love. It's not about how we're doing something, it's about how we're being. It's the beingness of love that carries courage in it. So there are a couple of people that I'd just like to quote and just kind of anchor in some of our awareness as Unity students. Eric Butterworth, who many of you, if you've been around Unity for a while, know. Eric Butterworth was a major teacher in Unity. He had a very large church at Lincoln Center in New York City for a number of years, and he's written quite a few books. Discover the Power Within You is probably one of my favorite. This particular book is called Life is for Loving. And he talks right in the very beginning, he gives us kind of his definition of love, and I want to anchor this as we move forward in our time together. He said, love is the action of a totally transcendent power and process within you. It's the action of a transcendent power and process within you. Therefore, love does not begin in you and end in the one you love. It begins in a cosmic source and flows out through you and goes on without end. I love that explanation. Know that love is literally, it's a flow that happens through us. It's not just ours. It's part of this universal energy. We talked a lot about that last week when I was sharing from the Fillmore book on the development of divine love. Charles Fillmore, co-founder with his wife Myrtle of our Unity teachings and of the whole movement of Unity, talked about love as this spiritual power, transcendent spiritual power that connects, harmonizes, and binds us to everything in the universe. So when we say there's one presence and one power, God the good, omnipotence, there's one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, we're talking about the presence that is love. And it's a presence and a power, as Eric Butterworth says, it's a process that literally flows through us as a divine process. It's a divine process that flows through us. And when we look at this idea of the courage of love, and incidentally, when I had decided what this talk title would be, it was before we did the white stone ceremony, but my white stone says courage on it. That was the quality that I called forth in my life this year. For many of you who were here with us when we did the white stone, you'll realize it was a very meditative experience to see what quality, what energy is flowing through us in the coming year. So I was kind of, I was working on my talk, and then I went back in my office and I saw my stone. I went, okay, God, how you do these things for me. It's very interesting. So we think of courage in many different ways, and Fillmore had a way to define courage. In his book, Revealing Word, he said that courage is a spiritual quality. Courage is a spiritual quality that allows us to remain poised and centered in God amidst whatever else is going on, any kind of difficulties that are going on. And if you've been kind of following Unity for a long time, and certainly listening to any of the talks that I've been doing over the years, we know there's this distinction about what's going on in the outer, and Butterworth talks about it as the circumference, and how we can so often focus on the circumference as opposed to what's going on in the inner. And this is basically what Fillmore is talking about when he's talking about courage. Courage is this quality, it's an inner quality that is a quality and an aspect of love that we can carry a sense of being, he says, alignment. We're poised and we're centered in the presence of God. So that means we're centered in the awareness of the God life within us, that we are made in that image and likeness of the divine. And that even when stuff is happening in the circumference, in the world out there, we can call upon this quality of courage that reminds us of the love that is always flowing through us. And that this quality of courage as a power, it's literally like a divine strength. It kind of realigns us with the truth of who we are. For us to be able to do this, it's a quality that allows us to watch the news and not become crazy people, to drive down the road and not get totally triggered by the lady in front of us who was going too slow. It allows us to listen to stories that other people may tell us about their lives and know that maybe that story is not the truth of who that beautiful divine person is. It also allows us to recreate some of the stories that we've anchored inside of ourselves, telling us who and what we are in the world. It's a very, very powerful, powerful spiritual quality. I'm going to call it a spiritual quality. Love is that power, and calling, as Fillmore does, courage is a spiritual quality. So the interesting thing about the word courage is it comes from the French word cœur, C-O-E-U-R, which means the heart. So courage is a quality of the heart. And it's very, very beautiful to kind of begin to understand the metaphysics that we as Unity students and Unitics live in. By that I mean we live beyond just the literal. We live beyond just the literal of what is there. In the metaphysics of Scripture, whenever we see the word heart, we're talking about what's going on in the subconscious. Now, and I found that to be really, really interesting. I was reading some more about Fillmore, and he talked about this idea that the heart is this quality of love. It's like the physical aspect of love. We think about the circulation of the body and how much the heart does to literally bring us alive and keep us alive. But beyond that, he says the heart is but the invisible expression of an invisible center of consciousness. So it's not about the physicality of the heart, but it's about this invisible quality within us that the heart carries. And when we look at what's going on in the subconscious within each one of us is the place that carries old memories, old stories. We can talk about the conscious mind, which is what's going on around here. The subconscious mind is perhaps stuff that we're not really aware of, but it's running us anyway. Then we have the superconscious mind, the divine mind, the God mind, the higher mind that we all would like to live in all the time. So it's very powerful to think about this idea of courage. And remember the Bible passage, which is create in me a clean heart. It's about how do we clear up the things in the heart that are causing us a sense of disconnection from the truth of who we are, from the harmony of the universe, from the binding power of love that connects us not only to one another, but it connects us to the truth of who we are as spiritual beings, as these incredible loving creatures, this creative power of love to magnetize to us the things that we hold in consciousness. So it's interesting to think about how the process of having courage And just think about it for yourself in a moment. Do you close your eyes? Because I think we think better with our eyes closed. Move into your heart for a minute. Is courage a word that you resonate with? Do you ever feel like you're courageous? Just notice. It's a noticing, just an awareness. Okay, you can open your eyes again. Just be aware of it. Because I don't think we use that word courage in our lives, and that we call ourselves courageous. We think maybe of bravery or something, like you're going to go out and brandish your sword. You're going to be an overcomer in the outer. But the point that is being made here by Charles Fillmore and by Eric Butterworth and by all the Unity teachers is that we carry within us this brave heart, this courageous heart. And through the power of the heart, we have the capacity to, I won't say completely rewrite, but to distinguish those stories that are in the subconscious mind that cause us to take action that is not an action of love, that cause us to believe things about ourselves and about other people that are not loving thoughts. And when we are able to bring the courage of the heart, the courage of love into our lives, we have a different way of showing up in the world. And it isn't always that we're necessarily taking action. Think about it as in your life, there are times when you run into situations that are challenging for you. I mean, healing in the body is a challenge. When we have physical issues in the body, having the courage to claim who we are as divine children of the one presence and one power, and instead of focusing on the things that the subconscious might tell us, that we're getting old, that we're whatever other little story, which I don't even like to talk about. Instead of doing that, we claim the vitality in the body. I had this situation with my partner, Roy. I love him to pieces. But I have a tendency to kind of do crazy, I guess I'd say sometimes I'm kind of absent-minded. Let's call it absent-minded. And one of my absent-minded qualities is that I will write a list of the things to get at the grocery store. And then I will forget the list. And so I'll have to call him, and hopefully he'll be there, and then I'll say, here's where I put the list, and then he has to go find it, because sometimes in my absent-mindedness, I forget where I put the list. And then he sends me a picture of the list. Well, so I guess it was Friday. I had the list, and he said, don't forget to take the list, because he'd added. And I folded the list up, and I think I put it in my phone. Quite frankly, I don't know where I put it. Anyway, I walk out the door, and I'm getting in my car, and he comes out, and he's going, it's a good thing I left my office and went to get a cup of coffee, because the list was on the floor. And that would have been fine if he just said, oh, I found the list on the floor. But he created a little story about, what am I going to do with you? Like, is this like going to be like life in the future? You're going to be so forgetful. Well, the weird thing was, I got in my car and I kind of almost started crying, because I realized that this was kind of one of those little things that happen between people. I don't know, does anybody have this kind of thing that happens between people? Where something happens, and then we've created a whole little story around it. And so I was in my car, and I'm thinking, I've got to say something. This seems so stupid, but I have to say something. Anyway, I stewed on that. That night I went to, I'm telling you these stories, but anyway, hopefully this relates, because I think it does. That night I went to a play with a friend of mine, and she was telling me how she didn't have enough money to do this, and the car, she thought she was going to have to sell her car. I mean, it was a very sad story. And then she told me she was taking a class on miracles, and how she was going to create 3 miracles in the new year. And the first one was she was going to get money for this, and then she was going to get money for this, and And then she wanted a new job, and instead of talking about the new job, she told me about how terrible her job was and the person that was working in her office. And I had to just go, we need to stop here. Because this is pulling up all that stuff that is what we don't want, instead of, and especially because you're taking a class on creating miracles. You don't want to be like dragging up all. And I had the courage, and I want to say this is part of courage, is when you have a truth inside yourself, to be able to say to somebody from a totally not judgmental place, just from a knowing that, hey, maybe that's not the best thing to focus on. And that came and went on Friday night. Saturday morning when I saw Roy, I had to tell him about the thing. I said, I just don't like that we're building a case for me to be old and forgetful and, having whatever word that starts with a D, And so can we just go to the place of, oh, you dropped the list, oh, you forgot this, or here it is. And I realized that there's a courage within us to be able to hold those truths for ourselves and to be able to speak them. And when we do it from a place of love and connection, loving not only who we are, but loving the person that is there in front of us, it creates a very non-judgmental field. And what is the nature of love? Is love judgmental? No, love is not judgmental at all. So love, having this kind of courage, is a very, very powerful part of our awareness of the quality of love. There's a book by Jerry Jampolsky. Does anybody remember the name of that book? Love is letting go of fear. Love is letting go of fear. And I think that is kind of personifies the quality of the heart that is courage. That when we can move into a place of claiming that we're not holding on to fear anymore, we're not allowing the subconscious aspect of the mind that calls for things that happened when we were a child and carries those forward, resentment because the parent didn't love us or that somebody did something to us, and we're carrying it forward. That's all buried in that subconscious mind, and the heart is carrying it. The heart doesn't want to carry it. There's evidence that people who have very deep resentments and anger have issues in their physical body, in the heart, liver with anger, but in the heart, because we're stressing that organ that's meant to be that organ of connection, that part that's calling us forward to be fully present as divine children of the one presence and one power. And thinking about people who had great courage, some of the people in our world who've had great courage. We can think of spiritual leaders. Martin Luther King, great courage. Nelson Mandela, great courage. Mother Teresa, great courage. But just like Jesus said, the things that I do, you too can do, we all have this capacity to carry with us this quality of presence and poise that connects us to the presence and power of God. And sometimes a big aspect of courage is forgiveness. It's the ability to clear the slate of things that no longer serve us. It doesn't mean that we need to necessarily, go connect with people who may have done things to us that hurt us, but holding on to that hurt keeps it in that subconscious part of the heart, and it doesn't allow us to flow the love out that is our divine nature. So this isn't a talk about forgiveness, but if we think about forgiveness in a different way, instead of thinking about forgetting something and just burying it under the carpet, if we think about forgiveness as in we're giving up something. I'm going to give up this attachment I've had to my anger or to my fear or to my worry. I'm going to give that up for the presence and the power of love that is flowing through me. And it takes courage for us to be willing to do that. It takes courage, and it also takes some practice. It takes a little bit of attention. It takes attention. It takes us time. It requires of us that we allow this to be a focus in our life. That we allow ourselves to focus more truly, more deeply on aligning with the presence of love that is our very nature, on aligning with the awareness that there is one presence and one power, and that divine presence and power lives within each one of us. And the more we can focus on that, then we can give up these ideas that we've been carrying, that somehow there's something wrong with us, or that there's even something wrong with someone else. It doesn't mean we have to interact with them, but that we give up that resentment, we give up that anger, we give up that fear. And sometimes it's even in the moment we have to take a pause, we have to stop and remember who we are, remember who the other is. So I just invite us right now to be more aware of this idea of the clear, clean heart that is the divine nature of who we are, of carrying the courage in the heart, of carrying that clarity and of who we are as love literally flows through into each one of us. So I invite you, let's close eyes now, and we'll go into a little time of reflection, meditation. I just invite you to relax in your body. And as you take a deep breath, imagine as you breathe that you're breathing right into your heart. And as you exhale, as that flow of love is moving out from your heart, 360 degrees around you. And again, inhaling deeply into the heart. And inviting the presence of your divine to bring you into awareness of the courage of the heart, of your heart, as you align yourself more deeply with the flow of love, as you center yourself into the inner wisdom and power and grace of divine love. And become aware if there's any fear that you have, any fear that's calling you to be ready to clear and clean out your heart in this time. Maybe you're even afraid to do that. Just become aware of that. Maybe it's a resentment you're carrying, or an anger, or some old story that you're telling yourself about yourself, or something you're saying about others that you no longer want to offer up in word or thought. Just become aware of that. What is it? And today, right here and right now, where in your life is love calling you to be courageous? Where is love calling you to be courageous? Perhaps in a relationship you have, something that you do at work or at home. Perhaps just very gently with yourself, having more courage to claim the truth of who you are. Where is love calling you to be courageous today? And how is it that divine love can move more deeply in your life, that you can trust more deeply the love that is there, have a deeper faith in the power and the presence of love that flows through you, and the courage to be that love, to speak the truth of that love, to take loving action with courage, with poise and calm. Knowing that life is lived from the inside out. Let us inwardly affirm, I am poised and centered in God. Divine courage fills my heart. I am poised and centered in God, and divine courage fills my heart. I am in the flow of divine love. I am in the flow of divine love. And offering gratitude to this time together, to the grace and power of love moving in and through your life, and the blessing of a courageous heart. We say, thank you, God. And so it is. And gently taking another deep and conscious breath, bringing your awareness back into the body, feeling the heart and the blessing of the heart. Gently open your eyes as you're ready. Come back to this time in this place.
Now we'll send that love out. I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the seas. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my joy over the mountains. I send my joy over the seas. I send my love, joy into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my power over the mountains. I send my power over the sea.
Now we have the glorious opportunity to show our faith in Source, God, and Spirit as we joyously give our financial gifts to do the work this community is called to do and to cover our expenses. We open our hearts and our hands to demonstrate the abundance of Spirit. We know as we give, we also receive. We cannot outgive God. This is our walk of faith. Let us hold our offering in our hand and bless it with our love. Together, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I am grateful.
Take all my unkind words and turn them into something good. Take all my preconceptions and let the truth be understood. Take all my prized possessions, leave only what I need. Take all these pieces of doubt and let me be what's underneath. Courage is when you're afraid and you keep on moving anyway. Courage is when you're in pain and you keep on living anyway. We all have excuses why, living in fear, something in us dies. Like a bird with broken wings, it's not how high he flies, but the song he sings. Courage is when you're afraid and you keep on moving anyway. Courage is when you're in pain and you keep on giving anyway. It's not how many times you've been knocked down, it's how many times you get back up. Courage is when you've lost your way and you find yourself anyway. Courage is when you're afraid. Courage is when it all seems gray. Courage is when you make a change and you keep on living anyway, and you keep on giving anyway, and you keep on loving anyway, and you keep on loving anyway.
Thank you.
I'm gonna tell people to get. You're gonna.